moment. It's up for grabs now.
Magic ball from Bergkamp to Patrick Vieira.
Oh, would you believe it? Oh, right, what a way to get it. Well,
Fabulous solo goal by Thierry Henry.
champions.
Good evening and welcome to 2023, the first of 2023. We're back on the Arsenal Lounge and Happy New Year to all you guys in the chat, and I hope you all had a great Christmas. Still top of the league, still smiling. And before we go into all of that though, I'm going to come over to the regular Monday crew, my favourite guys, my favourite guests of all time, actually, to be honest, apart from maybe Shaheen, who's not here at the moment, but there you go. But look, first, before we carry on, I'll come over to the fresh-faced new me, new you, Mo. How you doing?
Yeah, I'm good, man. I'm good. I'm enjoying the new year. It's been a very, very happy new year when you look at the flipping results that we've had to enjoy over the last few days. If 2023 carries on like this, it's going to be a treat of a year. So enjoying myself these days.
Oh, looking very happy, I've got to say. Chilled as well. Good to hear from you. And Mo, very quickly, I mean, do you celebrate Christmas? I mean, how was your New Year's?
Yeah, with Christmas, it's like, I think I celebrate it probably how majority of people celebrate it. Have that lovely Christmas dinner, chill out with family, exchange a few gifts and watch TV.
So you do actually go through the whole Christmas dinner thing and go through all the traditions?
I love Christmas dinner. I love it. I look forward to it. I really, really enjoy it. So any Muslims out there that are going to tell me Christmas dinner is haram, just get off my back, please, right now. I can't be bothered with that stuff. Love Christmas dinner. And it's just a nice time, isn't it, to catch up with families, and especially if you've got youngsters in your families, like kids in your families. I've got in total like nieces and nephews. I've got 5 of them, so really nice to buy them a few things and stuff. So yeah, had a really good time. And New Year's, I was up in Brighton on the 31st watching Arsenal go 7 points clear at the top of the league. I mean, what's there not to love, man? After that, chilled out with the missus and had a really good time. Yeah,
excellent, great to hear. I mean, it was probably the same in my household. It's not. Obviously, being from a Turkish background, Christmas isn't usually the done thing, but you end up following traditions as growing up here, and your mum and dad sort of make up for that. So that's good to hear. Tom, Christmas go well, mate? How's it go for you in New Year's?
Yeah, good. Christmas was chill. I worked Boxing Day for the game, and obviously I worked the game on New Year's Eve as well. I got back home at about 10:30, so earlier than I thought I was going to get back, because I thought I wasn't going to get back till near the clock ticking. But I managed to smash through some work in the stadium and get that out so I could leave about 9. So I was pleased to, and it was clear, I was genuinely the only car on the road by that point. It was kind of weird, on the M25 where it's usually rammed, no traffic at all. It was very strange, but I was glad that it was easy to get back for once.
Well, there you go. It's that kind of commitment, obviously. I don't know if you guys in the chat know that's won Tom a full-time position at Football London. Was that right, Tom? Oh, he's frozen. Is he frozen? And hold on, you're muted. Mo's muted.
Yeah, it looks like Tom's frozen. Yeah,
no, it's all going wrong for me all of a sudden. Tom's really taking this moment in. Well, for those of you who don't know, I don't know what's happened to Tom, but Tom actually got Football London full-time job, a position. Don't know what's happened to him. I'll take him out for the moment. I'm sure he'll be back. A big hello to you guys in the chats: Kevin, Tristan, Lucas, GB, Diallo, Mehmet. Happy New Year to all of you guys, and hope your Christmas went well if you celebrate Christmas. And listen, we're top of the league. It's 2023. People still are struggling to sort of get to grips with it. I say opposing fans, but let's get into very quickly a recap of the Brighton game, because I know we've probably chatted a lot about this over the last few days, but we'll go through it very quickly. Mo, you was at Brighton. Just a quick recap of what you thought of the performance, etc., and who stood out for you in particular.
Well, I mean, what I thought of the performance, it was just like the best start possible. You go to a game like, away at Brighton, who are a very, very good team, 7th in the league, a real test, only lost at home twice so far this season. And it's not just all of that. It's also the fact that we're playing on that added pressure of Man City dropping points and that opportunity of going 7 points clear. That was a huge part of that occasion at Brighton. because I think so many people were ready, writing up those tweets, saving them in their drafts, talking about Arsenal bottling it and that sort of thing. Because, Brighton is a tough place to go, even when you don't have that added pressure. So the start to score after, 66 seconds was just an absolute dream. Because I think it just took out a lot of the nerves and allowed Arsenal to, have like that ability to play with a bit of that pressure taken off. Whilst if that game was 0-0 and it went on, Brighton might have got a bit of a foothold, but I think we just completely threw them off. Credit to Arsenal, though. For that first goal, I think it was Thomas Partey. No, that was I think that was another goal. But we just started like a house on fire. And the one thing that I'm really happy about is that many, many times this season I've spoken about the fact that when you look at Arsenal in the first 15 minutes of each half, we're the league leaders. I think it's 6-0 in 0 to 15, and then it's 12-3 in 45 to 60 in terms of goals scored, goals conceded. Both of those are the best records in the league. It's very, very intentional. We obviously do that to try and catch teams cold, and we pull it off brilliantly. So it was a lot of more of the same from Arsenal Football Club against Brighton. It's it just feels very sustainable. Sometimes you watch your team play and you think to yourself, oh, we're not going to be able to score that 30-yard bullet every week, or this player is eventually going to have a dip. But the goals, they were spread out across our 4 key attackers. And when you look at the Premier League top scorer charts, Arsenal don't even feature. It feels very, very sustainable. It feels like it's got longevity. We can keep this up. And it's just really exciting. And we have to start talking about it more seriously. The bookies still don't have us as favourites. And I agree with them still. But we have to start talking about it more seriously, because as the Premier League goes on and on and on, we're looking like more and more like potentially a real proposition for that long-awaited trophy that we haven't won since 2004.
It was a strange one, Mo, because I think when I look at opposing fans and our own fans, we're all kind of in the same boat as everyone's kind of waiting for the wheels to come off a little bit. And I see the opposing fans just wait. Oh, well, this is a tough game away at Brighton, or this is tough. And they're all waiting for that next sort of Arsenal flop. And kind of as fans ourselves, we are as well. But the Brighton game lead up to it, I'm not going to lie, I was a bit concerned about it, because Brighton play really good football. Their manager, I really rate him. I think he's done a really good job since he's gone there, taken over from Graham Potter. I was a little bit concerned. And it was a little bit easier than I expected, dare I say it, up until it was a bit of a strange game, because the last 15 minutes, there were little signs of the old Arsenal sort of in there, in amongst it all. I'm not going to nitpick, but at the end of the day, there was those sort of last 10, 15 minutes where you felt that little bit that we were holding on. Saliba's made 1 or 2 errors of late as well. So you've got the Saliba error, you got the Leicester away, Leicester at home own goal. You've had the West Ham situation where he cost us the goal with a little bit of lapse in concentration and gave away a penalty. Now you got this one. It makes me look at it and worry a little bit. But then at the same time, you've got to understand the lad's 21 years of age and he's going to make mistakes. And I watched an interview recently with Wenger who said, what do you do with a talented lad? Do you play him knowing he's going to make mistakes as a youngster, but knowing he's got a higher ceiling? Or do you play somebody else who, is not as good, but is a bit more experienced? And I'm in the camp of, look at where we are at the moment with Saliba. He's got to be right up there as the Prem's best defender. So we can't knock him too much for it. But Tom, you missed all the accolades and applause whilst I was mentioning.
Sorry.
Yeah, you've done so well, and I thought you were just freezing on purpose because you was.
I looked and my laptop wasn't plugged in, and it had clearly not been plugged in all day, and it just died in that moment. So yeah,
that's all right, mate. But look, sorry. I mean, very quickly on the Brighton game and your thoughts. Obviously, if we're gonna nitpick, there have been 1 or 2 little incidences with Saliba recently. Is it something to be concerned about, or is it just something to be expected of someone so young? Over to you, mate.
No, he's 21. he's a young guy. This is and centre back for a young player is probably the most difficult position to play at that age. Because you are under so much pressure, and mistakes do come the hardest. As well. I mean, arguably goalkeeper you could look to as well, but he is one of the most composed, confident people that I've seen play for the club. When in possession, when out of possession. And he's going to make a mistake. Mistakes are going to happen. And I'd much rather them happen during a period where, we're pretty confident in the rest of the team to be able to do the job, that we can afford for a mistake to be made by one member of the team. An Arsenal team used to be, if we made a mistake, it cost us. And by cost us, I mean the result. We're in a position now where if we make a mistake, and mistakes do happen, that the rest of the team is there to kind of not prop us up, but, bring us home the points, because we know we're good enough to do that. Man City have made mistakes throughout their seasons of winning titles, but because they've got a good enough team and a good enough coach, they've still come through across the whole season. But yeah, obviously Saliba, hopefully it's not going to, weigh on him in any way. I don't expect it to, but there's always the chance that maybe this will ground him a little bit as well, which is never a bad thing. So, to understand where you've made a mistake, to understand you're not invincible, and that you can make errors, and that you need to learn from them, and that you can still improve. So, yeah, I'm not worried about Saliba at this moment in time, not at all.
Okay, good. Neither am I, to be honest with you. I mean, I think what you get out of him, in comparison to the odd mistake here and there, what it brings to the team is immense. So, I'm in agreement with you there. But it's a strange old season so far, because, again, as I mentioned, we're expecting in some way at some point for the wheels to come off this amazing sort of trip we're on at the moment as fans and as a club and as a team. But at the same time, everybody else around us is floundering, right? They're dropping points. So look, Liverpool again today. First time in 84 years, I think it is, that Brentford have beaten them 3-1. More points dropped. Liverpool are definitely out of the challenge for the title this season. Chelsea are dropping points. Spurs again lost at home to Villa. The only ones that seem to be consistent at the moment is ourselves. Then Man City have dropped points recently at Newcastle. So, I mean, I guess the question I need to ask you guys is, is this one of them seasons where if we just carry on being consistent, even the likes of City are floundering? Are we to, is it going to be one of those seasons where maybe we could even run away with it? Look at it this way. If we beat Newcastle next game tomorrow, City are playing Chelsea. There is every chance Chelsea could maybe turn up and beat City at home, right? We could potentially be 10 points clear. When do we start calling ourselves title challengers? Why are we so scared to call ourselves title challengers? The statistics, get my teeth back in, suggest otherwise, that, a team in this position very rarely lose a title race. Mo, why are we so reluctant to look at it now and actually commit to it?
I don't think here on the Arsenal Lounge we are reluctant. We are title challengers. We absolutely are. I think often fans like to play manager a little bit. And when they're kind of talking about Arsenal's hopes or whatever, maybe they in their heads, they think the press are listening or something, and it's going to put added pressure on. We don't have to worry about that stuff. We're just fans. And there's no reason 16 games in to all of a sudden think that we're just going to fall apart for no reason. It's all good if you don't think we're going to win the league. I personally still don't think we're going to win the league, because I think that the run-in is going to be very, very difficult. And with 2 games left against Man City, I think that is going to be the absolute game changer. Whilst in the 16, if we had already played them once and we had this lead, I'd be a lot more confident. But that could also be a very damaging defeat if it does happen. And we have struggled against Man City in recent years. So that's kind of my reasons. But honestly, at this stage, if anyone's saying we're not title challengers, then, I don't see how you can back that up. I think that's a ridiculous conclusion to make. But it's interesting now. I'm obviously putting my neck out there and saying, no, I don't think we will actually go and win the league. What about you, boys? Do you think because let's not even have the conversation about, are we challengers? Of course we are. Do you think we're going to win the league?
The thing is, I'm still so in
Reluctant?
shock at this season. I don't know. I don't want to be reluctant in saying we're title challengers, because why should I be scared at saying I think Arsenal can win the league? That's not something you should be scared of. That's not something that you should be embarrassed about saying, where we're guaranteed by the halfway point. I think nearly guaranteed by the halfway point to be. We'd have to lose the next 3 games and City win the next 3 games by halfway in this Premier League season not to be top. Why should I be reluctant to say that we are? Why? And come the end of the season, why would I look back on and be embarrassed to say that we were title challengers? Because I don't see, by the way, who on earth is going to finish second other than us or City this season? I don't see any team at the moment. I go, it's not going to be City or Arsenal right now. Do you know what I mean? So Champions League wise, I'm almost entirely confident that we're going to do it. It's funny you were saying, Mo, when you said that none of the bookies have us as favourites, because that made me have a look at 538, which are the algorithm website. They do a lot of prediction models. And for the first time this season, I usually check them. They have us as favourites now for the title. Okay. We're 50% likely. Man City are 41% likely. The next one, Manchester United, believe it or not, are 3% likely. So the third team likely to win it are 3%. We're 50 and City are 41. Now, they had us down as getting 4th last season. So, don't take that as gospel, of course. But it's the first time I've seen us ever kind of predicted at this stage to be potential, winning the league from anywhere. And their algorithms are pretty good. So I'm very hopeful of things. I think to win the league, we have to win at least one of the 2 games against City between now and the end of the season. Do I think we can? Absolutely. We should have won against them last season at the Emirates, and we were unlucky not to win that game in a season where we're nowhere near as good as we are now. So, yeah, I think we can win the league. I feel as though it's almost as if the reluctance, if there is any, comes from us not from being too scared of what the feeling of disappointment is if we don't. I think that's where it comes from, because we are all thinking about it. Yes, Mark.
Yeah, Tom, the thing is though, it's funny because you mentioned why can't I be wrong? Like, why would I be embarrassed about being wrong? The people that turn around and say, no, we're not challengers and we won't win the league, they might be wrong as well. This is just about having a look and giving an honest opinion and not worrying about, is this going to get clipped up? I think we're so stung, we're so scared by 19 years of not winning the league and many years of not actually being proper contenders and having that drop off in February, March, April time, that we're too scared to just be normal football fans. Look at your team playing really, really well and saying, I think we might win it this year. There's nothing wrong with that.
It is 100%. It's PTSD. I keep saying it. It is definitely PTSD.
It is.
Then I guess the way I've got to try and make it logical in my mind is, if it wasn't Arsenal and if it was another team in that position right now, would I suggest that they're title challengers? And I probably would have to say, yeah. So then if that's the case, then we've got to start looking at this and saying, look, other teams that we thought were going to be challenging for this title are not. They're dropping points regularly. We are not. We're the most consistent team without a shadow of a doubt in the Premier League. We are title challengers. We are. But, we still hold some doubts, and that's understandable. So, we'll be a bit cautious with it. But, yeah, I think we are title challengers. I guess the question I'll throw back at you guys is, when do you accept 100% that you're in the running for the title? Is it when we beat City? Is it this current running now? Because this running now is a difficult one, isn't it? I mean, having seen Spurs yesterday, I'm not that worried about Spurs away. I know
you're the least worried I am of the next 3 games. Yeah,
I mean, look, derbies do bring up different type of performances. I know that go against form, but yeah, I mean, all right. So who are the ones that are worries for you then? Are you worried about the Newcastle game tomorrow?
Yeah,
it's a tough game, right?
Yeah. They are really good. They are really good. Well, I was cavalier on my preview show and said 3-0 because I'm an optimistic guy. That's just who I am. So that shouldn't underestimate. That's not because I'm underestimating. That's just because I'm optimistic. I just think that they're defensively so sound. They're really well coached. They've got some really fantastic players. They've got Wilson and St. Maximan potentially back as well. And they're going to they've got nothing to lose. They have absolutely nothing to lose. And we have everything to lose in that game. It's a free hit for them. It's a marker for them. There is no pressure on them. It's an opportunity. For us, it is an expectation that we win that game tomorrow. And that's why I'm most nervous about this game, because when we went to Newcastle the last time, again, they had nothing to lose. Their season was over at that point. They couldn't get any higher. They couldn't go any lower. And we had everything to lose on that game. And we lost everything on that game. This is the narrative for Arsenal and what Arteta should be using. And we know that he likes to do these type of narrative things as encouragement, as we saw with the Brentford tweet and stuff like that. He should use that pain and devastation of that game and highlight that they're not the only ones that felt that pain and devastation, that the fans felt let down by that performance at St. James's Park last season. And that this game in particular should be used as an absolute motivation giver to say, this is your chance to say sorry to those fans that travelled all the way up to St. James's Park, those fans in Australia that got up at ridiculous o'clock in the morning to watch that game, fans all over the world that spent part of their lives having to watch a awful performance at St. James's Park that cost us the Champions League qualification to our arch rivals that did not deserve to get Champions League football that season. This game should be, it needs no motivation for us, but for Newcastle, it is exactly the same for them, because they have nothing to lose.
I was just, you know what? Well said, Tom, because I was thinking for Newcastle, this is a marker for them, isn't it? It's how far have we progressed type of marker, and they can go all guns blazing with it, and they know it's a precarious game for us. It's important for us to get a result, so they know that we're going to go for it. They're going to look to, they've got plenty in the locker to counter us and attack us. I mean, the likes of Almiron. Look, if we want to look at Newcastle, 21. They've won 21 games, drawn 8, lost 6. I think that's the most up to date up until the last game they played. Callum Wilson, I've always liked him as a striker. He was a bit injury prone. He seems to have settled. It started to come good. Almiron's doing great. Gulmaris is doing great. I mean, if you look at some of their players, Trippier is one of the highest ranked for passes in the final third. Right, I think he is the highest ranked at the moment.
Yeah, he might be.
Joe Linton is in the top 10 tackles in the opposing half. What else is there? I mean, Callum Wilson,
brilliant.
Callum Wilson, top 10 XG for XG as well. So I mean, he's doing well. Almiron is like a new player. So yes, it is going to be a difficult game. I'd like to hear what Mo says. Let me just go into Wayne say, Happy New Year to you, Wayne. Thank you again, bro. Good to see you back. Happy New Year, gents. Great year to be a gooner. Lev has Shaheen had a change of heart on Odegaard, aka Odegaard. There's a few I've looked at in the chats asking where Shaheen is, suggesting that he's disappeared since Odegaard's performances have gone. And wow, wasn't he amazing against Brighton? He was ridiculously good. But Mo, Newcastle, how are you feeling about it? Nervous? What are your thoughts? How do you think it's going to go?
Because we're in a title race, every game I'm nervous about now, because there have been in previous seasons at this time of year, honestly, I go to games and there's not so much riding on it that makes me that nervous. But now I go to games and I'm like, oh God, it means a lot. Every moment means a lot. And I feel like you feel that in the crowd. People really, really want to get behind the crowd because it means a lot to everyone, every single moment. Now, I'm nervous because we're in a title race. I'm even more nervous because we're playing a very, very good team. Like Tom said, this isn't luck. This is because a lot of people at first kind of looked at Newcastle doing quite well and thought, oh, they're ahead of schedule a little bit and they might drop off. Actually, I think that conversation has stopped now. They're a really, really good team. And, the more they do this, the more they play like this well, I think the more belief they'll have, similar with Arsenal. But the fact of the matter is, if you are going to mount a serious title challenge, you have to be brilliant at home. That's where you need to make sure you get your 3 points. And every now and then you go to an away game and you say to yourself, okay, this is a rival. This is about not giving them points today. You might take that view. Anything else is a bonus. So guarantee the 1 point. If you get 3, perfect day. But as long as you don't let them catch up on you, then it's fine, So we're at home. The onus is on us. And I think we'll deliver because we've been very good at home. We do struggle to keep clean sheets at home, which is a bit of a problem. But I think it will be a game where both teams score. But I think Arsenal will get the job done because we're just in that knack. We've got that momentum. I think the the way we're playing, the belief within the team right now is absolutely brilliant. And Newcastle have, drawn their last game, weren't able to get on the score sheet. Yes, Callum Wilson might be back. Yes, Maximum might be back. They also might be a little bit rusty. I feel like for us, it's like the World Cup never happened. But for Newcastle, it hasn't been as seamless coming back. So I put Arsenal as favourites. I'm confident, but obviously nervous.
That's a good point you made, Mo. I mean, I was a bit worried about us coming back from the World Cup, but we just seem to have hit the ground running. Like, obviously, some have suggested that Saliba's current mistakes here and there is because he's a bit rusty. He's been sitting on the bench for 4 or 5 weeks, maybe more. So, I mean, you could argue that, that's a good point. But generally, the likes of your Sakas and your Martinellis of this world have just come back into this team. Xhaka is another one. Partey. They've come back in this team, and it looks like to me, they enjoy playing at Arsenal, and they couldn't wait to get back and get stuck back in to that team spirit of theirs and deliver. Very quickly, I'll say a few more hellos in chats because more have come in. Hello to Matthew, Hamsik, Daryl, Diallo, Mohammed from Palestine. How you doing, bro? Good to see you. DR, bigging it up, telling everyone to get the likes in. And of course, if your team is top of the league, please smash the likes. Tom, Newcastle, a little bit more about the Newcastle game. Who do you see are the main threats for us, and how do you actually see this game going?
I'm really not sure.
Because they do like to attack, don't they, Newcastle?
They do, but they are defensively very good. And they have a midfield that works extremely hard to make sure that it protects that back four as well. Joel Linton's completely different to the man that they signed from Hoffenheim those years ago, who as a number 9, not as a midfield. Eddie Howe has done an amazing job on him. We talk about how well Arteta's done on Xhaka, for instance, but the Joel Linton is probably the best piece of coaching and improvement on an individual player I've seen in the Premier League, in the last potentially decade. I think it genuinely is that transformative of a player. I've never seen such a turnaround. It's incredible.
But Tom, with that Joel Linton one, because I think I agree with a lot of what you said there, but he was so bad as a number 9 that you almost had to reinvent him.
Yeah.
When you look at what Arsene Wenger, for example, did with Thierry Henry, that was by design and not by sort of consequence,
Yeah. Yeah, and I think that's why I appreciate it more, because I think that, it's a striker going to centre midfields and even to the wing at times. It's a complete overhaul of a player's role in the team. Left wing to striker in the case of Thierry Henry. There's a lot of similarities in the case between those roles. But striker and to midfielder, like one of the positions on the field where you have to do the least running is striker, and one of the positions where you do the most running is in midfield. So it's just such a drastic change. So he's key. Joe Willock, of course, has come on leaps and bounds. As we know, he started off brilliantly, had a bit of a dip at the start of his time, like when he signed permanently, but I think he started to again find his feet. And Bruno, I don't have to talk about Bruno Guimaraes because he's a potential world-class midfielder. He's insanely good. Then you on the attack, they've got some Maximan and Wilson back, and then Almiron again is another player that's just. He signed from Atlanta United, I think, 4 seasons ago? I feel that might be accurate. And looked like, with the respect to the MLS at the time, a player that had a bit of a reality shot coming from the MLS to the Premier League. And it's taken time, but there was talent, really was, when he was playing with Josep Martinez at Atlanta. And there's a reason why they were willing to spend as much as they did on him, because he looked a really good player. And now he's kind of transitioned, and it's taken time. That what was really lighting up the MLS with Atlanta is now being seen in the Premier League. And it's taken time, but it is improving. And defence, Trippier, you say, has been amazing. What a signing that's been for them. Botman's been brilliant as well. Defensively, Fabian Schär has come on leaps and bounds, and Dan Burn has impressed a lot as well. They've brought in Matt Targett as well, but you look at Dan Burn as the main kind of starter player there. So I think that it's going to be tough. I think that Saka against Burns, a matchup that we absolutely can win, and I think Saka should be doing well there. Trippier getting forward hopefully will leave space for Martinelli to work as well. I'm worried about the left-back position in our sense, as I am nearly in every game, because that is where we are most vulnerable defensively. There's an argument maybe that Arteta could throw Tomiyasu in like he did against Liverpool for that tactical shift. I don't think he will, but but I didn't think he would against Liverpool, and he did, and it was fantastic. So who knows? I think Zinchenko will start, but that is where I am most worried about us defensively is our left back position.
Good point. I mean, it's good you mentioned that, because in the Brighton game prior, when Arteta made those changes, that's when we started to look a bit rocky, isn't it? He brought on Tomiyasu. Ben White had clearly made his job look very, very simple that day against Brighton, because he was brilliant. The minute Ben White came off, I think it was Mitoma, was it? It was getting in suddenly in behind where he wasn't before. So there is a concern, and obviously Tierney came on the other side. So yeah, the fullback positions are pivotal. You know, would you think perhaps, I'll ask Modis, is there an argument that, you know, he will look at this Arteta and may do something different to counter that side, maybe putting in Tierney instead of, you know, because he's defensively a bit more sound than Zinchenko. But then when I looked at Zinchenko the other day, what he does when he comes into midfield is imperative. So what do you see him doing in regards to that?
I really think it will be Zinchenko against Newcastle, obviously provided they're all fit and available. I think it'll be Zinchenko, because what he does by coming into the middle of the park and giving us that added protection is allows Xhaka to do what he's done so well this season and go a little bit forward up the pitch and be an attacking outlet that never, ever gets picked up. And I kind of feel like I watch opposition teams and I think to myself, have you not watched Arsenal at all? Because you now have to have a plan for Granit Xhaka. If you're a Premier League team, a Premier League manager, and you haven't figured out what Arsenal are doing there by Zinchenko almost playing, it's buy one, get one free. Zinchenko plays two positions. He does a left-back job. He comes in when needed, and he's so intelligent as a footballer. This is not about athleticism or pace or strength. It's all up here in terms of knowing when to come into that space and knowing when to be diligent as a left-back and go back. But when Xhaka does pop up with an assist or a good pass or a goal, it's because of this. And I think that with Newcastle's midfield being a strong area with Bruno Guimaraes and Joe Linton and Willock, we're going to need to disrupt that. And this tactic that Arsenal have employed this season of allowing Xhaka to be this sort of mystery element to our midfield that just throws other teams off, I think that will be the disruptor. That can only really work effectively as Zinchenko's tucking in to support in that midfield area. So that's how I see it going, personally.
Okay, all right. So then I'm going to have to press you guys on the predictions. None of us got the result right in the last prediction, did we? Well, none of us thought it was going to be 4-2, did we?
No, I said 3-1.
You were close with 3-1 at one point. Yeah,
it was 3-1, and I was going, right, everyone, stop the count at this stage. It was very much.
All out cash out facility on their predictions. Just cash out when you're winning. That's your point. Okay, so no, but thankfully Shaheen's still bottom of the table. Don't know. Yeah. So I mean, what's your predictions for this game, guys? Because for me, this is a do you know what? I know I say this probably every week, but this game for me is huge. Because if we win this game and somehow City drop some more points, the more points we have between ourselves and City before we play them, the better, in my opinion. So on that note, Mo, prediction.
Mate, you're first, yeah? Top of the table.
Oh, yeah, good point. I am first. Yeah. I'm going to say 3-1 Arsenal.
Okay.
There you go. Mo?
I'm next.
Oh, is it?
Oh, second.
You are, clearly. We need to get the table back
sorry.
up.
You were deducted 5 points, weren't you, for not showing up? And also, you get deducted a point for your laptop dying.
I was busy. I can't help.
Or if your laptop dying, deducted points for that for sure.
Yeah. I came back.
He's texting Mo as we speak. All of this.
How was it? By the way, was it nice? Did you have a good time?
Was what nice?
Your meal.
Right.
Shaheen got a cheap one, didn't he?
Yeah, didn't go ahead.
Oh, didn't go ahead in the end.
No. After Tom dropped out, that was it. We were only there to see Tom. Like the Arsenal fans were singing to Brighton. You've only come to watch the Arsenal. That's what it was as well.
You've only come to see the Canton.
If I don't go, Shaheen's like, nah.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Clearly.
Oh dear. Oh, that's a shame. Am I second though? Genuinely,
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
After all that, all Tom really actually cares about is where he's sitting in the table.
I mean, Lev is smashing it. He's on 26 points, 4 perfect scores. You're on 19 points with 1 perfect score. I'm on 18 with 1 perfect score, and Shaheen's actually on 17 with no perfect scores.
I'm
so
literally
really,
Arsenal
really
last season. I've come back this season with a fresh impetus and just smashing it.
I'll stick with my prediction that I came up with on my preview show earlier, and I'll say 3-0, even though it's very optimistic. But I need to be I need to be consistent. If we score the first goal, it opens things up so much more because Newcastle then have to go for us. So if we can get a goal as early as we hit Brighton, you saw how that opened the game up significantly on New Year's Eve. That could be crucial for us. If we get an early goal in this one, we've scored early against Liverpool, we've scored early against Spurs, we've scored early against Brighton. We're scoring early against these good sides. So if we can do that against Newcastle tomorrow, I think there's a good chance that it will really work in our favour. But we'll wait and see. Fair question. It's a fair question.
Listen, watch this space is all I'm going to say on that. 3-0 from Tom and you, Mo.
2-1 Arsenal.
Ooh, everyone loves that 2-1, don't they? It's a safe one, that 2-1, because we know there's a good chance that we'll concede 1. So 2-1 Arsenal. Okay, so it's 2-1, 3-1, and 3-0. We'll get Shaheen's as soon as we can. I hope you're watching, Shaheen, wherever you are. So, look, another very quick one, guys. Like, I was having a little think over the last few days, and I've been watching a lot of these different fan channels and people's reactions to us in general, and then obviously reactions from opposing teams, because we had that period, and Mo, you'll know better than most of us, AFTV periods when we were so bad and everyone was jumping all over our fan channels, weren't they? They were watching it just so they could see our pain. And now I'm in this strange position where I'm doing it. I'm sitting down. I'm going, let's go and see what the Spurs lot are doing and saying, and let's go and see what the Chelsea. and I tell you what, I could sit here taking the piss as much as I want. But one thing that stood out for me is Arsenal are changing perceptions. And the reason I say that is not long ago, the perception was you get a manager in, get him out if he's not delivering. Get him out. Get him out. That's what everyone's saying. It's Chelsea's of this world, Man United's of this world, the cities of this world, because of the money and and being spent, etc. Everyone waits for the manager to do his bit, and then if he's not delivering, they want him out, right? But there seems to be a different trend happening here, because I've started to notice teams, Chelsea fans, one. I've seen this a couple from Spurs, although I don't agree with the Spurs take. Fans are starting to look at it and go, look what Arsenal have done. They gave their manager time. And some were saying Arteta out. We all had our doubts. I said it at one point. I'm sure Mo's had some doubts. We all had our doubts, right? And it could have easily have gone Arteta had some of us had our way back in that period. But now fans are starting to look back and saying, it's not Potter's fault, it's the squad. It's not Conte's fault, it's the squad. It's not, this or that, it's the owners. And has that changed? Has what's happened to Arsenal changed people's mentalities into saying maybe a process does need time, a change, takes time? Have you noticed that? Because I've started seeing that quite a bit. I'll start with Tom on this subject, a bit of a different one.
Yeah, no. I think it's important to point out that the reason why we've got from when Arteta took over to where we are now is not just down to Arteta. There has been a bigger thing that's gone on, the work of Edu, the investment from above. Even you look at someone like recruiting Richard Garlick that's helped with player contracts and signing players up. The work of the fan base to really kind of accept, in part, the longevity of this project, the effort that goes into match days, the Ashburton Army, what a difference they've made to
where they come
atmosphere.
From. It's crazy.
Yeah, and that all, I think it's a collection of things. But focusing on the managerial point of view, Arsenal just needed someone to come in, take the club by the scruff of the neck, say, this ain't good enough. I'm installing these principles. I'm doing this. If you're not going to abide by them, you're gone. And Arteta did that. You know, he strong-armed his way into that managerial position. It's not always gone down great. It didn't at the start, and it was definitely a reality check for all of us. And I think maybe it's made some of us look back on some previous opinions and think, yeah, I was too premature with what I said back then. I know I certainly was with certain things I said prematurely on the coach. But yeah, the way other teams are looking at it, I think that the issue is that with Chelsea, say with Potter, things aren't going so well. People are saying, oh, we're going to have to stick by Potter. Look at Arsenal. I think Chelsea lack vision up above. Like, they're just kind of signing players at will. Is there much thinking in behind the strategy there? Is Todd Bowley really, does he know what he's doing? You know, they tried to get a number of directors to come in from the likes of Salzburg and from RB Leipzig, and you know, it's not necessarily gone to plan. So it's not as easy as just saying give the manager time. Spurs, you look at Conte. I'm sorry, but Conte has done, and he's now doing what he's done at a number of places. He's a short-term fix. He's very good at getting short-term results. I think he's actually very suited to international football more so than club football, and that's why he did so well with Italy. I think that when you now consider the fact that he's at a club where he brings kind of players in for the immediacy, like Perisic, for instance. You know, when he goes, Perisic is a bit of a dead weight, to be honest, at Spurs. They've made signings that he didn't even want, like Jed Spence. I think they wasted their qualifications at the Champions League with the transfer window they had. Like, imagine if we'd have qualified for the Champions League and brought in Richarlison for 60-odd million, Basuma, Jed Spence, Perisic. You know, like, I don't see the vision really behind that too much. I get the idea of bringing in a competitive forward three, but I'm not sure Richarlison necessarily is that. I think they needed more creativity. I think they needed to go down the youth project route because they've got a lot of aging stars like Son and Kane, and they've not done that. They added another aging forward to that front line. And, you know, Richarlison's not exactly, you know, a starlet coming through, for instance, by any means. So I just think that the other clubs around us, Man United is the only other interesting one, because I think if they give Erik ten Hag time, you know, that could be something that does bang for them. You know, I think they've won, 7 of their last 8 games under him. They've given time to Garnacho, for instance, who looks a really interesting young player. Rashford's getting back into the team and is doing good things for them as well. They've moved on Ronaldo. You know, that's kind of an Aubameyang moment for them, if you like.
Yeah,
they moved him
similar.
on.
Yeah.
So they're the ones I'm looking at, along with Newcastle, for obvious reasons, to think, you know, us, Newcastle, Manchester United and Man City look to be the best placed teams. Liverpool look like they're coming to the end of a cycle with Klopp. And I don't know whether or not it's about the team that's just aging at this point. You've got Salah, Van Dijk, Matip, you know, Robertson, moving towards late into their 30s. Some are in their 30s sort of thing. And how they're coming to that cycle. Is it right to keep Klopp there, or do they need to go to another coach to rejig that cycle? I'm not sure. They lost their big recruiter as well previously. So what's going to happen with them? It's an interesting time in the Premier League, and Arsenal have certainly taken advantage of this transitional period, I think, for a lot of teams. But they've deserved it, and they've earned it, and they've done it the right way, and it's glorious watching it.
There you go. Well put. Tom, Mo, very quickly, what do you think all of that? I mean, he's mentioned, you know, Tom's mentioned some valid points there. There are teams very much in transition, like we were, Man United being one of them. Chelsea have got a lot of deadwood. Potter's not got an easy job there. He's inherited that squad. Has there been a trend in not just fans, but teams looking at Arsenal and thinking, hey, you know, maybe this is the way?
Well, I've got a theory on this with Arteta and Arsenal. And so I'm not sure whether the conclusion that you've drawn really is something that you can extrapolate to other Premier League clubs and say that Arsenal is setting a trend. That I'm unsure about. It certainly might give people pause for thought that, hold on a second, look at what Arsenal have been able to do by giving them some time. Because I do remember there was a point in time with Mikel Arteta where I didn't say sack him. I said, if I wake up tomorrow and he is sacked, I will support that decision. He was like completely on the verge. And I think, if I remember correctly, at that time, it was, I was saying it's pointless doing it now because the new manager is going to come in at the wrong time. He's just going to set off on the wrong foot. It's about timing when a new manager comes in. So you actually might as well let Arteta see it out until the end of the season, for example, because our season's not going to, a new manager's not going to come in and do anything for our season anyway. Even if you know, does really, really well, we're not going to achieve anything. So that's where I was at the time where Mikel Arteta was burning bridges with players, this, that, the other. But my theory on the way it's happened with Arsenal is that At other clubs, you'll have an owner that is involved in the decisions and very emotionally invested potentially, or cares a lot more than our owners potentially do. And you'll also have a CEO or a director of football, a technical director, whatever it might be, whose reputation is at stake. And actually, I mentioned this earlier on in Arteta's tenure. Vinay Venkatesham, Edu, and Arteta are all very, very inexperienced in the jobs that they're doing. So they don't really have this track record to protect. I personally feel that if Arteta failed, that could have been curtains for all of them. I think certainly for Edu and maybe even for Vinay. So they probably sat around a table together and said, we're all in this together. Either we all succeed or we all fail. It's not a Chelsea where the owner can say, that manager, flick him off, he's gone, my reputation's intact. They all would have been culpable. So I think that's what allowed them to kind of just say, do you know what, we're going to stand firm. It might not work out, in which case, fine, we're all gone. But if it does, we all succeed together. And that camaraderie, based on where they are in their careers, that like-mindedness that creates, I don't think was by design. I think it was more by coincidence, in all honesty. And when you look at Edu, when you look at Mertesacker, when you look at Mikel Arteta, it just happens that they all played for Arsenal. So I don't think that this is some really clever move from many, many years ago to get them playing for the club so that this all happened. It's just happened. We've been a bit fortunate about the timing and the way it's all happened, but it has worked for us. I think at a different time, if Arteta came in, it might not have been like that. There might have been the technical director, or if we had a different owner, there might have been an owner who's thinking, you're going to, basically make me look bad. You're going to tarnish my reputation. But that's just how I see it. So for those stars to align, they don't align in that same way at every other club. So I think you have to take each one as a case by case. And whilst it, as I said, might give pause for thought, I don't think it will necessarily be a trend.
No, I mean, the way I see it is fans are quite sort of, they'll look at your neighbour and they'll go, right, well, they're doing this, so we should be doing it. And all I can suggest is the way I was coming across was generally we have had this mentality over the last 10 years or so, sack the manager if it's not working and sack him quick. And we've all had this mentality of, as clubs have had the mentality, if it's not working, a few months in, 6 months in, he's out the door. I mean, look what Spurs did with, what was his name? Nuno. Is that his name? Yeah. You're muted, Tom, but I can read your lips. Nunes. That's it. Yeah. They got rid of him really quickly. And, there was a lot of Arsenal fans that wanted Conte. And he would have been the worst fit for us because he's such a defensively minded manager.
He's still a very good manager, but the thing is with Conte is that he just doesn't want to be at Tottenham. I think that's been really obvious.
Can't blame him.
Some of his interviews recently have been absolutely.
I can't believe what he said. By the way,
he's basically saying, "Be happy with fifth or sixth."
Spurs are is fourth. That's the best they are.
Yeah,
that's unbelievable for their manager.
Yeah, but it's not even a recent thing. He has not. Honestly, maybe like the way what he said has landed with me, has just, maybe I'm like, it's been too obvious or something, and maybe other people have interpreted it differently, but I've watched him and I've thought, this is hilarious. He does not want to be at Tottenham, honestly. And if a manager doesn't actually want to be at the club and it's that abundantly obvious, I think that does transcend to the players. So I'm not saying this as an Arsenal fan trying to take the mick out of Tottenham, right? But honestly, I just don't think he thinks Tottenham are a big enough, serious enough club with enough of a history and real pedigree for his level of capability. And I think that's the honest truth. If he was at Man United, for example, or Liverpool, or Chelsea, or Arsenal, then I think he'd be a lot more serious about, saying the right things, doing the right things. I think he's happy to get a payout. I honestly, truly believe that. So he's not going to be the right manager for Tottenham, because no manager that is not truly passionate and truly wants to be at the club is the right manager for any club.
He looks like a guy dating a 6 who thinks he should be dating a 9. That's what he looks like. That's how he comes across. Do you know what I mean? Absolutely. It's like, why am I even with you? That's the kind of feeling I'm getting.
It's a great analogy.
That's what my missus thinks.
Well, there you go.
Her
But
name's not Antonio, is it?
It's a middle name.
yeah, she's called him something that sounds like Conte, but we won't go into that.
That's what my surname quite well.
But very quickly, we're sort of on the last 15 minutes or so. You guys, if you've got questions, save it for the last 5-10 minutes, whack them over. Want to quickly sort of go over the transfer window at the moment, because it's an imperative thing for us right now. We fell on our sword, we died on our sword with the transfer window last season. It's January. I think we're taking it a lot more serious. I think losing top 4 to Spurs the last minute has really had an impact on the squad in their mindset, the way they've come across this season. I think this window is going to be very similar. We're going to have a little bit of PTSD. What happened with the window? We should have gone for it. What's going on, Tom?
Second bid's in on Mudryk.
Yep.
It's from what seemingly is out there at the moment, from what everyone's refreshing their pages like crazy every hour to see if there's any updates. We haven't necessarily upped the overall bid by a lot. What we've done is that we've committed a lot more of that bid we put in originally up front.
Because they want 55 up front, don't they, or something?
Well, there's rumours that that's what they're looking for. I think that's probably what we've gone to, is around 55 committed, and then it's said to be below 70 million euros in total. So potentially we could be looking at 62 to 65 as a total deal, with a 55 million euros up front, which I think is much fairer than the 100 million they were asking for previously. It's still, I think, more than his genuine value. But in the January market, and the opportunity to sign someone this good with no one else really coming in for him, because they can't, because the money just associated with him, and the clubs that could go for him aren't necessarily looking for those types of players right now. It's an opportunity for us to get somebody, like kind of similar to when we got Ødegaard's. There was an opportunity there and we took it. So we'll have to wait and see. I don't think Arsenal make the second bid if after these days and days of discussions, they aren't confident that what they've offered now is a much more attractive proposal. With the Ben White situation, if you think back to that, it was quite different. It was like first bid went in around 40, rejected. They said they wanted 50. We put another bid at 45, see if we can tempt them. They said, no, we want 50. And because we could pay 50 in the summer, we eventually just paid the 50 to get it done. And we had Richard Garlick had a good relationship with the guy at Brighton as well, so that helped the deal. But with this, there's been talks over a significant period of time since that first bid went in to kind of kick off the situation. And since that point, I think we've got into a position where they're confident that a deal can be done. On the player, I genuinely have kind of fallen in love with watching clips of this guy.
Direct, isn't he?
It's a weakness of mine, and people that have watched my content know that I get super obsessed around specific players. I did it with Arslei, I did it with Asensio, before, never linked to Arsenal, but just as a player when he was coming through at Mallorca and then Real Madrid. But I think that with this Mudryk fella, he's just, I've never seen speed like it. And I'm not usually one that's kind of really bowled over by pace at all.
No, it's
a very video game kind of thing to like about someone who's got over 90 pace on FIFA. But genuinely, like, the speed on this guy is like, it's ridiculous. Like, if you think like a 10-yard gap between the ball, typically you don't tend to see too much of a difference. If the defender's in front of the winger, they tend to get to the ball within 10 yards. Not against this guy. He is so fast. It's mad. And I can just see this 6 months that we've got left of the season, in the games where we're like 1-0 up or 2-1 up with, say, 30 minutes to go, and we need to kill off games. He's going to be perfect coming off the bench in those scenarios, And then we can talk about him starting and compete with Martinelli into the future. But this season, when we're trying to go for a title, he's perfect for these kind of killer instinct finish the games, kill teams off, coming off the bench for a team that's potentially already tired him and run ragged is going to be a nightmare scenario for them. So it's like when Liverpool brought in Luis Diaz, it's a bit kind of similar to that. And the boost that got. But yeah, if you want to kick off with Mudryk, that's my thoughts before you go to Mark.
Wow. So Tom is now a self-proclaimed transfer target voyeur. There you have it. He loves to... he secretly stays at home and watches videos.
It's hardly a secret. I produce the videos on it.
I'm trying to add a bit more drama to it.
Yeah.
But listen, he is rapid. Not he's got Thierry on retype pace from what I've seen. It's ridiculous. I am excited by this guy as well. I'm not going to lie. Anything else we should know about in regards to sort of, João Felix? I'm not going to lie. I'm not as excited about João Felix. I don't see all the hype that I've been seeing around this guy and the sort of money that Atletico want just to loan him out for 6 months. I mean, Mo, what do you think of João Felix? I mean, I'm sure Tom will fill us in a little bit more, but João Felix, excite you?
He would, yeah. João Felix would excite me, to be honest with you, and so would Mudryk. So it's a tough one, but I have to admit, if João Felix came in, I would be worried about him adapting to the Premier League. He's not a very robust player, and in the business end of the season where he'd be coming in, I just don't think he'd adapt seamlessly. So I think Mudryk's style of play-wise it's just a guess, obviously. You can't predict these things with a 100% success rate, but I feel like he'd be a better fit. My only issue with Mudryk is that he's playing for a team that's dominant in their league, and a lot of the clips of Mudryk that I've seen, because no, I do not watch Shakhtar's league games, you see him on the counter. You see him with space in front of him. Now, I'm asking myself, against better defenders in a better league and perhaps, tactically a bit more on the ball, when he's faced up against two really solid, disciplined banks of four and good organized defenders and good organized systems, his pace is going to be nullified largely. Then it becomes about timing of the run, that intelligence piece to make sure you're staying on side and that sort of thing. And we've seen Darwin Núñez, right, come in and cause chaos, absolute mayhem. Now, it's funny because Darwin Núñez reminds you of Timo Werner. Again, bags and bags of pace. And when I look at those sorts of players, I'd look at them and say, I don't want them to play against my team, because even though they, can't hit a barn door, they just, cannot score no matter what happens, they still cause carnage. So perhaps Mudryk could be an entity at worst where he causes absolute carnage because of that sheer pace. But I don't know. I haven't had the luxury of being able to, kind of do my own scouting on him to know whether he's got the intelligence and that sort of guile that perhaps of Timo Werner and a Darwin Núñez don't possess. If he doesn't, then I worry about his pace being a bit nullified and then him not having sort of the intelligence to operate in an Arsenal team, which is very, very intelligent.
I hear your doubts in those areas, but I'm the same with Tom. I've been watching this lad quite a bit recently, and I think he has everything, even decision making in the final third for someone so young. And also on top of that, I think he would also be useful for those games where we might go away and teams are coming at you and they'll leave space in behind because they're coming forward. They're playing at home and you can counter them. He's ideal for counter.
But what about the low block? Arsenal.
Sorry, Mike. I was just going to say this is something I did a whole breakdown on Mudryk, and when I spoke to my good friend of mine, Andrew Todos, who's a Ukrainian football expert, he works in the field, covers Ukraine, and watches them year on year on year. I said to him before we do the show, I was like, one thing that's going to come up from Arsenal fans is how does he deal with a low block? Because we've had this situation with Pepe where he played for a team that was mainly working on the counter at Lille, and when he came to Arsenal, it didn't work. Now, in the Champions League, Shakhtar play a lot on the counter because they come up against teams that have more possession than them. In the Ukrainian Premier League, which granted is not anywhere near in terms of the quality of the Premier League, but in terms of the oppositions they come up against, Shakhtar are typically year on year the most dominant team in the Ukrainian League. They're currently second behind Dnipro this year, but they still play the majority of their games against teams where they dominate possession and they're going up against sides that will sit back and defend. And Mudryk has been excellent still. I think he's got 7 goals and 6 assists in the Ukrainian League this season, playing for a team that dominate the possession and play more so, against teams that are defending deeper. He tends to drop off the fullback on the opposition's right-hand side, find space for himself, works it really well, is really good in tight spaces, can find little dink passes. His last year has been working on majority of his left foot work because he's mainly right-footed, and he's been working hard on his left foot to improve his crossing, his shot creativity. So, yeah, the question is always going to be about the low block. What I would say, though, is I can't really give you a game in the Premier League this season where I really felt Arsenal were going up against a low block this year. we've done so well at either scoring early and drawing teams out that I don't really think of a game where we sat around the edge of the 18-yard box for a long period of time. Do you know what I mean? I just can't quite think of one.
I think we've got players that draw defenders out.
Well, movement is mad.
Yeah,
like, so
the movement draws defenders out, which leaves space in behind. So that's where playing against a low block works. So I hope Tom answered your question, Mo. Very quickly, someone had mentioned we had 200. Hold on,
just to clarify.
Go on. Sorry,
it's not that I'm saying he can't do it as well. I'm just asking that question because I haven't seen any evidence of it. That's just my thing that I'm like, wonder if he can or not.
Yeah.
No, that's fine. There's been 240 people or 250, I think, in here, and only 17 or 18 likes I saw. If you want these guys to answer any questions, smack a little like in there very quickly. Have you got 5 minutes for me, guys, to answer some questions? You good with that? Or yeah? If you guys can smack a like, get us up to 100 at least. We'll answer some of your questions. Get them in now. Arsenal Manic's back in the house. Good to see you, bro. Let's have a look. Right, so let's see some of these questions we have here. You lot smashing the likes, and I'll bring up Matthew De Souza's question whilst you guys are still hitting some likes. Matthew asks, with the threat of Newcastle United coming back and, of course, Man City not going anywhere, should we view the season as our own, as one window of opportunity to win the Premier League? I will hit this over to Mo.
Yeah, there's no reason why I should think that Arsenal can't replicate it next season. But if we win the league this year, or even if we come very, very close, we know Man City are, going to go all out to make sure that they reassert their dominance next year. I think there'll be a lot of change at Liverpool. Man United look a lot stronger under Ten Hag now, and I kind of feel like if he carries on the way he is, Man United have always got money to spend, and I think they'll say, okay, you've shown us enough to back you now, and they could be a very tough proposition next year as well. This could well be our best opportunity, for many years to come if to win a league. So we absolutely have to go after it, which is why when we're talking about transfers, I always come back to Wilfried Zaha, because Premier League proven player that can play up front and, replace Jesus and offer competition on the wings, blah, blah, blah. But anyway, let's not get into that. We agree. We have to go after it this year.
Okay, cut off for a second there, but I get the gist there, Mo. Next question I will put over to Tom. Lucas Chambers TV. Good to see you, bro. Thank you for watching. How many points do you guys think we will get in January? All 9. Tom, over to you.
I'm optimistic that we will get all 9. I think we can beat Newcastle. I think we can beat Spurs. I think we can beat United. But if you offered me 7, I would take it. If you offered me 7 points from those 3, I'd take it. But I think we can get all 9. So, yes.
All right. If you said offered 7, where do you think the likelihood of dropping any points would be, in your opinion?
It's a good question. I think we can beat Spurs away from home. Mm-hmm. If you said which of the 3 would I rather draw, I kind of think United is the one I'd rather draw, because I think it's important we beat Newcastle to kind of put them in their place a little bit. Obviously, I want to beat Spurs. So, yeah, probably the United game. Yeah. And also, I don't really want Spurs getting top 4, so I don't give them any points, really. But if Newcastle get top 4, it's also not particularly great, because I don't really want to see them getting top 4 already. I think United. Have you found it weird seeing like Chelsea, Liverpool, United drop points recently? And I don't feel the same level of kind of joy because we're not really competing with them this season. Do you know what I mean? Like,
I see teams dropping points, and I'm still surprised that they're up there. If you catch my drift, do you get that one? Like, you've seen Man United dropping points and City dropping points, and Spurs not so much now, because you look at Spurs and they're not up there, but. There's some teams you think, United in particular, I don't think they're playing that great. But every time you see them, they seem to be hovering around. So, it is one of those things. Is there any more questions here? There was a few here I saw. Can't see it.
Whilst you're looking, Lev, it's funny, Tom, on the looking at other teams and how you feel about their results. Like, often now I'm looking at other teams and I'm thinking, oh, I actually wanted you to win because I'd rather they get top 4 than Tottenham.
Yeah, I know.
Nothing to do with Arsenal. So today I'm watching Liverpool versus Brentford and I'm like, okay, this is great.
No.
But if Liverpool had won, they would have gone ahead of Tottenham. So
it's mad. This is how fans who are supporting a team at the top feel like, and it's been a while since we felt like this. This is actually a really good question, and to be very frank and honest, and I've not been a great, his biggest fan, and I've got my severe doubts when it comes to Eddie. But you've got to give it to Eddie right now. He's holding his own, and Diallo asks a very, very good question, and I'm going to put this out to both of you, yes or no answer. Diallo asks, if Eddie scores 10 goals before Jesus returns, does he keep his position? And that is a very valid question. Gents.
Yeah.
We go first, mate?
Yeah, he does, yeah.
Oh, what?
Yeah, I think so. I'm just trying to look at how many games we've got before Jesus is meant to be back.
I mean, I assume it's going to be around 10, something like that. So, absolutely, even if it's 12, 10 goals in 12 games. Because if you look at Eddie's all-round play as well, it's not that he's just staying in the box, not adding to the team style of play and contributing there. He's doing everything and scoring goals. So, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, fair play. Is that how you feel as well, Tom? You should keep his position?
You nothing's given to you. Nothing should be given to you, and Jesus should fight for his place.
If he does that, he earns his position, Eddie, in my opinion.
Absolutely.
So
yeah,
fair play. It's one last question, Tom. I'll chuck this at you. Hold on a second. Where has it gone? I've lost it. Here we go. Gooner Greg, thank you, bro, for your support and watching. He asks, any concerns over the Saka and Saliba contracts activating the 1-year extensions, or is it just simply just to buy themselves some more time?
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. January means that players can sign pre-contract agreements. So all they're doing is protecting themselves from, say, a club coming in and offering them a stupid wage because they could sign them on a free. So that's what they've done. It's not a problem. The club are confident. That's the message I get, is the club are confident.
I am worried, in all honesty. Because, the way I see it is that if you're a player, for example, and we both know when they sign new contracts, they'll get more money, yeah? So let's just say you're on 100 grand a week. Arsenal extending it by a year, I'm sure Arsenal would have rather have said new contract instead of the extension. And that would mean that the player would get more money immediately. So if you sign a 4-year deal, then you say, all right, fine, I want 140 a week, for whatever it might be. But the fact that Arsenal signed the 1 year, and maybe I'm just getting too much in my head, but I'm thinking, does that mean that the player hasn't said yes to an offer that Arsenal potentially put on the table for them? I would have felt a lot more comfortable if it was a new contract rather than the extension. But look, hopefully, with the trajectory of the club and the way everything's going, hopefully they want to be at Arsenal, and it's more on the lines of what Tom just said.
If it was someone, just one player like Saliba, I'd be a little bit worried, because you could say maybe he still hold a grudge from the way he was treated before, although it's panned out that it was good for him. But then there's others. I think it's Martinelli. Was it Martinelli and Saka involved in that as well? I think Saka's definitely involved in that. And I don't get the feeling any way, shape or form that Saka's going anywhere anytime soon. So the fact that he's been given that extension as well, I just think it's taking some time. They're playing it safe. They've activated the clause just to keep control of the situation. That's the way I see it. But fingers crossed, it is that
I've
way.
done it with Patino as well, by the way. They activated a 2-year option in his contract as well.
There you go. So, guys, GB says he's shitting his pants over Saka and Saliba. Please don't. Please don't. You'll be all right. But look, that's it. We've been going for an hour and 7 minutes. The first one in 2023. Keep your notifications on. Please hit your likes. Don't freeload. Come on, guys. Give us a little like every now and then. It helps. Keep your notifications on, because we've got some new shows coming. Also, there's the game tomorrow as well. So we'll be talking about that probably in the midweek. Tom, is there anything you coming up that you want to sort of let the guys know about as well?
Just the continued updates on transfers, 8 a.m. every single day. If you do want to learn more about Mudryk, as I said, I did a tactical breakdown with Andrew Todos. Went into great detail about statistics, comparisons, what he's like off the field, about all of this kind of off-field antics and watching the games and stuff. Is that a bad thing? What's he like in training? We covered all of it. So it's all there. And I'll probably be doing one on Joao Felix at some point very soon as well.
Interesting. So if you guys want to know more about Joao Felix, if you haven't already, subscribe to Gooner Talk TV. You will find him every morning at 8 a.m. Even if he's suffering, he's still there, bless him. And again, it's what made him professional full-time now with Football London. There you go. And Mo, anything you got coming up that you'd like to let the guys know about?
Just hopefully a very, very satisfied, happy, buzzing match reaction after Newcastle tomorrow. Check that out. That'll be up shortly after the game finishes, and then a 5 at 5 the day after. So I just hope it will be massive. It will be a really, really big win for Arsenal. Even though I expect to win it, it will just, I think, give a lot of belief. If there isn't already, I think it will give a lot of belief if we can get that 3 points. And as you said, Lev, earlier, with Man City playing Chelsea, if there's more points dropped from Man City and Arsenal beat Newcastle, this few fixtures that we're looking at could be the absolute turning point in the season when we look back, where everyone started to think probably rather than possibly.
Yeah, I agree. If we get ourselves into a position where we're 10 points clear, I'm going to be ridiculously excited. But you know what? As I say, I mean, it's been great doing these shows with this type of sort of season. It's been amazing. I'm not used to it. So, long may it continue. Guys, please, as I said, subscribe if you haven't, notifications on, keep an eye out for new shows. And that's been it. Let's hope we get another result tomorrow, and also that Chelsea nick a couple of points off City. So that's it. This is the Arsenal Lounge. Mo, Tom, we're out of here. Peace out, guys.